doesn't look half bad.
Can I get my full bicep in there? my right bicep looks pretty good right now.
I got my, this is my PDC meal prep shirt. This
Nice.
is the guy that I order. And he actually has a motorcycle and a dog. So, and he has hair like this too. This is like one of the coolest shirts
Oh,
that I
yeah.
own. So anybody who's looking to get some meal prep, this is one option. I like them. I'm going to give you the opportunity to kind of tell your story and how you got
Cool.
into fitness and things like that.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. What he does, what drives him. Trey, go ahead and tell a little bit about your experience with fitness, just to kind of get a start.
Well, starting off, I got into fitness. When I say got into fitness, like really got bit by the bug that I just really enjoyed fitness. It became my lifestyle, became just a big part of who I am. Was probably in my low 20s. I undeniably, I kind of struggled with little man syndrome. Where I went, I was college age. I was 21 years old. And I think I struggled with just self-image, and I was super skinny. I weighed $110, at 20 years old, 5'7.5", 5'8" on a good day. But I always struggled with that, just being small, being little, and kind of comparing myself to other people. And then from there, I just, got big into fitness, and I got into more so bodybuilding and wanted to get big, wanted to get jacked. I looked up to all these fitness models that were, men's physique competitors and stuff like that. So I think that's when I got bit by the bug, where I started just diving in. I started eating a lot of calories just to put on the weight. And from there, I started seeing results, and I was happy with how I looked, and I felt more confident. And that was just such a good feeling. So I think I was in my low 20s when I got into that, and then got my degree in communications. And then even after graduating college, no shame in this, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was like, I loved public speaking, I loved motivational speaking, and I really loved fitness. So from there, that's what got me into fitness. After I graduated college with a communications degree, I became certified as a trainer, got into personal training, and then just found I just really clicked with group fitness. And so I started working for a boot camp. I'm not going to name it. I don't know if I'm allowed to name names, but I started working for this boot camp for about 9 months, and started working for this other organization that I worked for 5 years. And most people that know me, they know me through this organization that I was with for 5 years. But yeah, that's where I got my start with fitness, and that's where I'm at today. And I've been a full-time trainer for about 7 years now. As soon as I got out of college, became certified, and I've been a full-time trainer for 7 years now. Did I jump ahead in your questions there?
No, you're good. You're good. I was just thinking, as long as I have known you, I know we're friends and all, but every time we talk, I feel like I still learn some things. So
Yeah.
Your journey from delving into bodybuilding type, and then somehow it transitioned to group fitness and connecting to that. I mean,
Yep.
I've known you for group fitness. I never knew you when you did the boot camp stuff before we met. But I think that's kind of interesting. So with this kind of experience of different styles of working out, different styles of actually coaching and helping other people, what would you say is your style of training today, or your focus, intention of training today?
I think my focus, more than just I veered, well, let me put it like this. I veered away from personal training. I like personal training. I really enjoy it. But I think for myself, just with my talent as a motivational speaker, I wanted to incorporate my motivational speaking into my training. So, and that's where obviously when I'm doing personal training, I love personal training. I'm able to make more of a personal touch with the way that I motivate them and inspire them. And then I love group fitness. Everybody that knows me knows that I love being in front of a crowd. I was always, even as a kid, it's funny, it just kind of fits my personality. I was always the class clown as a kid. I always had to be in the spotlight, center of attention. I think that's not the reason I got into what I did. I think I want to motivate people to be a better version of who they are. And I realized with myself that, just through things that I've come through with my past, I just want to make the world a better place. And I've realized just through fitness, it just makes me feel better about myself, makes me feel more confident. And obviously that confidence goes a long way. with just in everything that you do. So I want to be a motivational speaker to encourage people to be a better version of them, and I can do that through fitness, because they can, obviously I'm helping them physically get to a better place and then mentally get to a better place as well, just through being a motivational speaker in the fitness realm.
I think that's really interesting because, you know, when we talk about, I think the biggest question that really gets to help people understand the trainer that they're working with is, why are they in fitness? Because a lot of people in fitness have a degree, and they have a lot of talent. They're wickedly smart, and they can do so many different things. Rarely do people get into fitness and say, I'm going to be rich. Right. So like there's something else behind the reason why they get into fitness. And he said that for you is you want to make the world a better place. And it kind of fits your skill set. Can you talk a little bit more about like how you came to this conclusion that fitness works for you, and how you discovered that helping people through fitness is really the drive for you?
Yeah, so I think that's, you know, backtracking back to my high school days, and even before high school, middle school days, I became addicted to drugs at a very young age. And so when I was, not to get in too much detail, just keeping some of it kind of confidential, if you will. You know, I was just a full-blown drug addict by the time I was 14 years old. Ended up in jail, 15, multiple felonies at 15 years old. I know it's crazy. People, you know, some people might see me as like innocent Trey, but wasn't so innocent back in the day. And so from there, I went through the 12 steps of AA when I was 15, 16, kind of in that realm. Got really active in church as well. You know, gave my life to Christ when I was 16 years old. And I think all that stuff just kind of led to a very dramatic transformation in my life, where when I was doing things and committing armed robbery when I was 14 years old, it turned into, you know, 3 years later, like I'm hosting Bible studies, and I'm doing motivational speaker for, I was a motivational speaker for drug awareness, and I worked for this big organization called Journey to Dream. Awesome organization. I went to multiple high schools, spoke in front of people, and just encouraged them to make good decisions with their life, not just drug awareness. And so I think that's where, you know, transformation took place, where I'm like, that's where I realized I want to make a positive impact in this world, and I want to leave a legacy. I think so many people, they just live their life paycheck to paycheck. They don't really have influence in the world. And that's where, like, I always look at myself as I want to be an influencer and influence people for something positive and something better, not just for themselves, but also for other people as well. And so being a motivational speaker, doing that in front of schools, and then obviously how this ties into, you know, what I'm doing today is, you know, I'm a motivational speaker for fitness, and that's how I, you know, would refer to myself. And I'm a motivational speaker for fitness and helping people make positive decisions with their life and be a better version of them. And obviously I love fitness, so it's a win-win.
Okay.
You know?
So it's interesting. So you had a certain way of life as a teenager. And I'm assuming that, like, did you just come to this wake-up call by yourself, where it's like, I gotta be different? Or was there like a mentor that kind of was like, was there for you when you were ready for it? How did that kind of like...
You know, and obviously we've always had some mentors that have come along and people that influence me in good ways. I mean, obviously I've had counselors that have pushed me in the right direction. You know, all glory to God. You know, I mean, I think he's the one that's put those people in my life. And the biggest influence I had in the fitness industry specifically is shout out to Tim McComsey. I was actually training at a gym, and I saw this guy, I mean, just jacked fitness model, like, and not, you know, he just almost had like a man crush on this guy, because I'm seeing this guy, like, he's just, you know, and this is where I was going through the whole thing where I was, you know, first getting to fitness, where I just had some self-esteem issues and how I looked, and I see this guy, like, he's like the chicks dig him, you know, he's this fitness model, he's got, you know, 50, 60,000 followers on Instagram, and I always looked up to this guy, and he said to me, he's like, you know, Trey, I see the way that you train here, and you know, if you ever want to get into training, because I talked to him about personal training at one point, and he said, if you ever want to get into training, like, the opportunity's here for you. I can hire you, I can bring you on, you can be a trainer and work under me, and so I think that was kind of the pushing factor for me that put me in the direction of fitness, specifically making it a career. And so that was probably my biggest influence that I had in the fitness realm, and so that's what got me into the industry. And then obviously from there, kind of bridged my way into boot camps, you know, and then from doing group fitness altogether and working for a company for 5 years, and now going back to boot camps, what I was doing before. It's kind of like I've gone full circle in my profession, specifically in fitness. So, but yeah, I think that was probably my biggest biggest influence and biggest mentor in the area of fitness and making my decision more clear as to what I wanted to do with my profession.
So it sounds like, you know, hearing this story, this like short story of your life, you felt good about the changes that you were making from being a teenager, and then you went to church, and then you found bodybuilding, and it made you feel good. It wasn't just about you know, looking good, but it was about how you felt about yourself too.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Fitness helped with that. And all of that, between feeling good about church and then developing the skills as a speaker, feeling good about how fitness made you feel, and then developing the skills to show other people they can feel good too, is all wrapped into, now I'm going to go into group fitness or a boot camp or whatever, and I understand if people feel bad about themselves. Let's get the most out of you. Do I have that kind of like wrapped up?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So if there is somebody out there who is thinking about like helping other people through fitness, what would you say is a good like starting point for them to get going in that journey?
The hardest part of you know, is just the start. You know, just starting, stepping out and going for it. I think so many people are, you know, they think, well, maybe I should get to this level of fitness before I go into a class, or maybe I should start doing this or start dieting or start that. And you know, the hardest part is just the start. It's just stepping out, put one foot in front of the other, and obviously from there, just don't stop moving forward, as I share in a lot of my classes. So I think just you know, yeah, just making the decision to move forward. I think from there, it's like when you have that trainer that's going to help you and add that accountability, it's like it's hard to stop at that point, you know, because once you start and you've got someone encouraging and pushing you along the way, it's just, you know, at that point, it's like you have that accountability, you have everything you need at that point. So
yeah,
that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk about some of the specific things about fitness I think people would be interested in. What would be the most embarrassing thing that has happened to you?
Embarrassing.
In your fitness career?
Most embarrassing thing. That's hard. I think I've ripped a couple ones while demoing, like going in for a low dip squat, and then you know, I'm like looking around. I'm sure, you know, wonder if anybody heard that.
Was it on the way up or on the way down?
It was. You know, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's probably been a few times it's happened. A lot of the time doing like crunches and stuff like that, where just like you're restricted, and you know. There's been a few of those moments, you know, where, you know, you kind of turn red, and probably most people didn't hear it, but they're probably like, why is he turning red right now? So, I mean, I've had a few moments like that. I've had a few times where I've kind of stumbled over my words and accidentally said a few cuss words when I wasn't meaning to say a cuss word. It just kind of, a couple words got jumbled, and then it turned into, you know, bitch, or turned into, you know, some other words that I've said that were pretty inappropriate. So I mean, I think we've all had our moments, but I can't really say there was anything like crazy embarrassing that's really happened. But I've had a few times where just few incidents like that have happened.
What would you say is like the most touching moment that you have experienced in your career?
I think it's hard to really, you know, I thought about that question when you asked me earlier, and that's a hard question to answer, because I think there's so many times that have been so gratifying, that and been so rewarding, when I mean, hundreds of people that have come and talked to me about how they're seeing results in this and seeing results in this, and you know, people that have said that they went on their dream vacation when they didn't think a year ago they'd be able to go on that dream vacation. I think it's been so many moments that have just been so gratifying, that it just makes me feel so good about what I do, and obviously keeps me doing what I do. You know, if I didn't hear those testimonies of people that have lost weight, or they've gotten to a level of fitness that they wanted to get to, I don't know if I would continue. You know, it's one of those things that you love to hear the affirmation of knowing that you're investing all this time into people, into them getting results, and knowing that they're getting those results. And that's like, this is why I do what I do. And it always reminds me, like, this is why I started doing what I do. Because I think, like anything else, any profession, you get into it with sometimes good intentions, and you have all these, you know, ideas of like, this is gonna be rewarding. And then, you know, if you don't hear people giving their feedback and telling you that they're getting the results, it's just like anything else. You get burnt out, and you're like, you know what? You start to question, like, am I really doing what I should be doing or whatever? And I think for me, that's where, it really drives me forward when I hear people giving me their testimonies and feedback of changes that they've seen in their own lives. So yeah, I think there's too many to name.
Yeah.
Most rewarding moments. I mean, there's too many to name. It just all kind of comes together where just hearing, so many testimonies of people and their transformations that have taken place, and that's rewarding for me. So
very good. What was the hardest situation that you've ever had to coach through? And when I ask that question, that could be something like maybe you were going through something personally that it was really hard to kind of push through, but you still had to be there for people. Or it could be something that was in the moment, like maybe it was a client, maybe it was that particular class.
I think in the moment, actually, when you asked me this question earlier, like this is actually, my mind immediately went to this one situation because it was actually pretty recent. It happened about 3-4 months ago where I had a woman have a stroke in my class. So at the time, didn't know what was going on. She just seemed kind of lightheaded and then kind of out of it, kind of like down, and we didn't really know the severity of what had actually happened. There were some ideas after talking to some nurses that were actually had heard about what had happened. They said, that sounds like she had that. And she got rushed out during class in an ambulance. They took her out in a stretcher. And come to find out later, she had a full stroke in my class. And so I think that was probably the most terrifying moment of anything that's ever happened in one of my classes. And yeah, that was definitely scary because you didn't know what was going on. It was obviously kind of made you stop what you're doing, and it was that was definitely the scariest moment I've ever had as a trainer, and seeing that happen in front of you. And
you say that, and I just think about I have fortunately, and in the years I've been doing this, haven't come across that particular situation, but any certified personal trainer has to be AED certified, so they can use a defibrillator and all that stuff, and we never use that thing.
No, we don't.
And so I just think when I talk to my buddies, these are situations we never come across.
And it's funny, in those moments you think about it and you're like, do I really know how to use this thing? You're like, man, I mean, I'm certified, but like, man, if this really happened, like maybe you know how to do it, but like if the shock of what I experienced when that person was having a stroke, like it chokes you up. You're like, what do I do? You freeze.
Yeah.
And it's like, it honestly makes you question, like, would I be really able to perform and save someone's life if that moment happened? I mean, undeniably, I'm just being very transparent here, but that when the shock happened in that class of what happened, she was having a stroke, like, you freeze and it freaks you out. That's where going back to that was the scariest moment I ever had. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all the questions that I have. I just wanted to say that if, for anybody who's watching this, even on your feed, I would just say I've known Trey for a long time, and he's always been very, very good at motivating people. Exactly what he says. If you've ever been in a class with him, it's not just his booming voice that gets you motivated, although that's a big deal to it. It's he really genuinely wants everybody to do better than what they thought that they could. And if he sees that potential there, he's going to give you that kind of one-on-one. I'll tell you the truth, like going back to where we both worked for, where we met, working in that particular studio, there was only one of two other guys there, and the other guy was like an older guy, and he was like basically, he served a demographic that was like his age. I was the younger guy, and then Trey comes in with this booming voice and this handsome face, and I didn't know him. I just knew this guy Trey. He's been around for a while, and then I was like, oh man, this guy's better than me. And this is the true story. Did I ever tell you this? I don't know if I ever did.
I don't think you did.
Okay, so and I remember exactly where I was when I saw you kind of introduce yourself, and everybody was like, yeah, let's get this workout, and I was like, man. And I knew right then and there I had a decision.
Yeah.
I could be really jealous, or I could look at this and like, this is somebody that could make me better.
Yeah.
And I decided to go with the latter because I just know that there's always somebody better. And if you were that better person, I can learn from that.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what happened. And yeah, it made me a better coach having you around.
Well, I appreciate that. It's funny because I walked in, I was like, man, this Rico guy's killing it. Like he's a solid coach. He's a phenomenal coach. And I looked at you in so many ways that I was like, man, he is so much better than me in certain areas. And I think that's obviously you know, that's where you got to be humble enough to say, you know, there's some areas that someone else is better than me in, and we can grow from each other and learn from each other. And that's why obviously you and I, you know, I mean, we become really good friends because of that. You know, we didn't let that like man, I don't like this guy because he's better than me.
Yeah.
You know, we just became friends, and we grow from each other and learn from each other. So yeah.
Well, where can people find you on social media or to get a hold of you?
So yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Trey Patterson. You can find me on obviously on Facebook as well, Trey Patterson.
So is it at Trey Patterson on Instagram, or just straight up?
Yeah. I think it's just directly Trey Patterson. I just, there's no underscore or anything like that. So find me on Instagram. You find me on Facebook. Love to get connected with you guys. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope that this gave you a little bit more insight. I am Coach Rico Strong. You can find me on Instagram at Coach Rico Strong. And I'll also give a link to where you can find this on podcast form if that's what you prefer. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.